Howdy, howdy, everybody. How's the day going for you? Welcome back to Stranded Deep in Conversation, and I hope it was well. There we go, we've reeled it back in. We're good at that. Today, I'm gonna die. um, today, we're gonna be talking about, as you can obviously tell by, the old title, board game night. Just talking about board games and stuff. My board game nights with my friends. Some of the silly moments that have happened. But first, like every, I say every episode. It's not. But it's coming back. So buckle your seatbelts. This week in retail. I could get like a thing for it. I could make like a title card or something. But I'm not gonna, because I don't wanna. So I'm not gonna. Easy as that. I've got a few things today. We'll start with like a mention from last episode. Last episode, at the end of the episode, I talked about that lizard that has been confusing me on my walk to work. Not sure if it's alive or if it's a toy or anything like that, but I mentioned that for the past like a month or so, it's been sitting in like a patch of grass, just sitting there. New update. Literally the day I recorded that, I had work, so I recorded it, I uploaded it, and then I scheduled it for the upload, and then I went to work. On the walk to work, the lizard was gone again. I cannot make that up. It disappeared. It was gone. I don't understand. I like looked in that patch of grass, dude. There's fucking nothing. It's a pretty big lizard or fake lizard, but it just went away. It went poof. So I'm like, okay, great. What, how and why did this happen? I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, so just a quick lizard update. I think it might be alive. And I know last episode I was like really, really keen on it being, dead. Well, not dead, but like fake. It can't be. There's no fucking way. It's back up. And gone again. Okay, but other than that, just a couple of basic things to talk about today. Somebody was, coming up to check out. I was like, oh, hey, how can I help you? You find everything today? And he said, bless you, as a response. So he must have thought I sneezed at him, or at least was so taken aback by me talking to him that he thought I sneezed and said, bless you. So that was cool. I thought that was pretty neat. I said goodbye to another rendition of Mount Beverest. What Mount Beverest is in our back room, we stock things that are, we don't have room for on the shelves, and we don't have like a really good designated spot for our drinks, so we wind up just kind of piling them up on top of each other for a while, and it eventually becomes so fucking crazy that you may as well be able to climb it and claim your stake at the top. So I call it Mount Beverest, and I love that name, but every now and again, I'm like, I really need to get rid of this. So I said goodbye to him, and I worked the beverages, and he is no more. Mount Beverest will live on in my heart, but nowhere else, because it's gone now. Are you listening? So yeah. Fun stuff there. The last thing that I have today is that towards the end of one of the days, I think it was Sunday. It was Sunday. Towards the end of Sunday, I was talking with my coworker, and I was just bored, and I was like, and we were walking away from our front area, but then I was gonna go walk towards it, and I was like, do you think I can like jump over this gate? Because there's like a little swivel gate thing to get in there into like the front behind the counter. And she's like, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, whatever, fine. She went into another aisle. And then I proceeded to do that. Because, why the hell not? And so I went to go jump over it. And my leg hit the gate. Which then caused me to stumble into the counter where my arm slammed the phone. So the phone kind of went all over the place. And then as I was falling backwards, I landed with my ass on a stool. Not like on it, but like leaning against it. So I was practically like, it was probably just a cool way of me sitting down. But the only reason that stool was there is because I was helping them study for something that because they have like a big test thing coming up on Saturday. So they needed some help studying. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Well, I'll see what I can do to help. And so thank goodness we weren't actually really working. We were just kind of doing something else, because otherwise I would have fallen probably into the cabinet and like slammed my head on it, and I probably wouldn't really be here talking right now. Or maybe I would. I don't know. It's not that sharp of a counter, so I could only hope that we'd be fine. Well, I'd be fine. They're fine. They didn't see it. So I just told them that it worked, even though I made a lot of fumbling sounds, and then she was like, tell me you didn't just do that. And I was like, well, it worked. Technically it did. I made it to the other side. I hit some things along the way, but I did end standing up. Technically standing right next to a stool, so I was like primed to sit down. It was like a trick shot, if anything. If anything, it was a trick shot. But now it boils into the actual game. Not the actual game, but like the actual... Where the fuck am I? The actual reason we're here today, and that is to talk about board games. Board game night in general, in specific, actually. Before board game night, we can talk about board games a little bit. I always kind of had a love for board games and stuff. And my first board game nights, were really like when I was relatively young, at my grandma's house, because she lived with my aunt, and my aunt had a lot of board. I guess my aunt lived with my grandma. I don't really know who the house. I think it was my grandma's, technically speaking, but it doesn't matter. The point is, they had a lot of board games, and I remember they kept them in their basement, but they had like some stairs that led down to it, because obviously it's a basement. And there's like a big shelf like above the stairs, and that's where all the board games were. There was like dozens of board games just sitting on that big shelf. And I was like, whoa, those are so cool. And she'd bring some down to play, and we'd announce them, and we'd play them, and it was fun. Like Parcheesi, Clue, some like Family Feud, and like a bunch of weird ones too, but like a bunch of party games. And one of the things that my family did almost every single time we were together is we played a game called Catchphrase, which isn't necessarily a board game, but it's like a party game, you know? So it's this big disc where it has like a bunch of topics on it, or like general like topics. So like you want to do like food or famous people or movies and TV or something like that. You pick the topic, and then you go. I'm trying to remember how it works. You go in a circle. So like you have like a team. You have like two teams, and then those teams would play with each other. And so someone would get the disc, they choose the topics, and then they'd have to like describe the thing without actually describing it. So like if my word was corn dog, I'd be like, imagine like a weenie in like a bunch of bread, something like that. If I can remember that correctly. But it's a catchphrase. So yeah, it's like they give you a bunch of things. You just kind of have to like you have to get them to figure it out while they're like without saying the word. And you'd kind of just pass it around your table until the timer went off, and then you'd get some points, and then go to the next team and the next team, and then someone would win eventually when we gave up and stopped playing. And I never participated too much in the big group of like all of our family, just because it was a lot of adults, and I was maybe like 7 or 8 at the time, so I didn't exactly feel very confident going into that. But I did one day, and then I actually got some correct, and then my family would not let that go. They thought I was like the smartest kid ever, because I was able to like figure out imagination and like a bunch of other stuff. Like, I don't understand. Granted, I was really happy that I got those, but I was just like, yeah, I mean, I just I don't know why everyone's still talking to me like I did something crazy. I just played a game and it worked. So I was pretty happy about it. Yeah. Yeah, this is a weird thing. But it was cool. It was fun. Your catchphrase was fun. And then I'd play with my family, with like my siblings and like other similarly aged family. You know, like wine, it's aged. We don't have an age. We are aged. Only 2 rocks from that big ass rock. Probably fell in the air. This freak of a rock. But yeah, catchphrase was awesome. It's a great game, and it was probably one of the main things that actually got me into just wanting to do more games. And since my grandma had so many games, I was like, fuck yeah. Because we didn't have any board games at home. We had like maybe like the game of... we didn't have like the game of life. We had Candyland. I know we had Candyland. But that was kind of it. And maybe like a Monopoly. I think a Monopoly. We had like Candyland and Monopoly. And those were our games. And eventually we had Perfection. I think that's the name of the game. It's like the one with all the little... You have to like... It's like a 60 seconds to like put all the pieces into the right holes and stuff. That game is fucking insane. I have like a little handheld version of it I got from a yard sale for like $1. The thing's crazy. That's just wild. Hey, come here. Die. Oh, right. Of course. I'm an idiot. Where's my stick? It's a pokey stick. So yeah. My grandma's house had a lot of cool games. And eventually, the time came around where she was cleaning out her basement, and she was actually going to be starting to get rid of some of those games. And she was like, oh, well, if you want, you can have some of them. And I was like, you're fucking joking. And she's like, no, take, which ones do you want? And so I got Clue and Apples to Apples. Clue, everyone knows Clue, Apples to Apples. Maybe not. It's like Cards Against Humanity, but like PG. You know, it's like... It's like they give you a word and you try to choose a word that's similar to that word. So like if the word is endearing, you could put grandma or like you have cards and you choose one that works. So it'd be like grandma and like the telephone and Sistine's Chapel, and then they choose whichever one they like the most. But honestly, I kind of like that version way more, just because it's not full of just really just. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got Cards Against Humanity, and I genuinely did enjoy playing that the first few times. But as I started, you know, the more I played it, the more repetitive it got, and the more just, like, it felt playing. It's like, yo, dude. I mean, it's still fun. It's still a very fun game, but I kind of just like the more laid back and, like, easy, or, like, just less not like offensive, just like sexual jokes in the whole like in Apples to Apples. There's not like it's just more wholesome fun, and I like that. But you know, Cards Against Humanity is still very fun. Don't get me wrong, I love that game. One of my favorite things to do is whenever me and my friend play, we'd always try to find the foreskin card, and we played that on anything. We played it just to see if it worked. Because Foreskin so far has not failed a single topic, even if it wasn't us the ones choosing the card. Foreskin always somehow managed to succeed, which you thought was fucking hilarious. Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, so you got Apples to Apples, you got Clue, and that definitely sparked a little bit of joy in me, and I love that stuff. Which then led to me actually, you know, looking for games myself. I'd get like 5 seconds where it's like you have like a card and you have to like say you ask somebody to name 3 somethings, and then you flip the thing and they have 5 seconds to name 3 somethings. It was just cool. And then you know, Toys R Us was like the king of finding fun little games like that. Like, you know, they have things like bingo and whatever, but then they also have like just crazy stuff, like, you know, like fun party games, even some like actual board games. So like one game that I got from there that I remember the most was it's the Wikipedia board game, which is like a trivia game, but it's a really cool trivia game. It's like they give you a topic, like a bunch of cards have different topics on them, and each topic has like 3 different subsections of like information. So like it'll have like like a more search. I don't remember how it works, but there were 3 different topics, and there were 3 different ways to get points, and they were all very, very fun. And that was one of the games that me and my siblings played like probably the most before I got a bunch of like more fun, crazy games. That one was like always up there, and like okay, we're gonna play this tonight, and everyone was like, yeah, that's fucking. It's just fun. I trivia games are fun. I'm really bad at them because I don't know a whole lot of stuff, but I know more than most of my friends and family do. So I got a little bit of an edge on them when it comes to trivia games. But Toys R Us had a bunch of other games that were also very fun. Well, I can just go look over there at my shelf, and I can tell you some of the games I got from Toys R Us. Risk, I definitely got from there. Risk is so fun. Risk is a long game, but it's a good game. Although, like many competitive games, some people get a little upset when you play them, which is fair. It's kind of just bound to happen if you're not playing with more competitive people. They're gonna get a little more upset if they're winning or losing. Well, if they're losing only, actually. Let's see. Not a whole lot that I wind up actually having is from here. My sister got Pictionary Man Jr., which is like a little guy you draw on with chalk, and there's some topics. And she gave that to me, and I was like, oh, cool, thank you. I don't think I have 5 second rule anymore, unless that's it in that corner. I think that's it in the corner. That's it in the corner. I love the little timer it has. It's like, wah! And it's like, wow. It's cool. Yeah, Toys R Us had some fun games, and I love those things. My aunt actually got me a game from Five Below, I believe, which was like, oh, cool, thank you. And I didn't really. She was like, oh, hey, I got you a game. I'm gonna come. We're gonna. She all like one of my aunts would always come over like every other weekend and just stay the weekend and just chill with our family, which was always so fucking fun. And she came over and she's like, hey, I got you a board game, and it was the Magic the Gathering Arena the Planeswalkers game, which is the most complicated board game that I had up to that point. And I was like, whoa, this thing looks so cool, and there's so many little dudes. It was apparently from Five Below, which is crazy. I think it was like $10 at Five Below, but it was still only $10 for an absolutely insane looking game. And I still have that game. And I learned it and played it with my older brother, and we both loved it, and we played it several times, and then I got the expansions, and we played with the expansions, and those were fun too. They had a bunch more scenarios, a bunch more characters, a bunch more like minion spawns. It was so much fun. And then I tried playing with some of my friends, and it didn't exactly work out, but it's fun. It's whatever. It's okay. But yeah, that game was really fun, and my aunt got that for me, and then I got the expansions for myself because they were cool. Fucking love those things. But the last big thing that I contribute to my love of board games, pretty obviously, is YouTube. YouTube showed me a lot more games than I ever would have expected. More niche channels like Rado Run-Throughs. I don't remember exactly how the title works. I think it's runs through. Rado Runs Through. Yeah, probably that one. But Rado, he showed me games like Above and Below, and just a bunch of other fun stuff. How it's played, showed me some. Shut Up and Sit Down. One of the big ones that they showed me was Fog of Love. They didn't show me, they didn't like come to me like, hey, look at this board game. But like they had a video on it, and I saw it, and I was like, holy shit, that's a cool game. But Fog of Love is such a fun game. Me and my older brother love playing that game. And it's one I saw from them, and I was like, oh dude, they have this at Barnes and Nobles, and I'm fucking getting that shit, absolutely. I got that while I was in college, actually, so that was fun. Didn't actually play with anybody in college, because quite like my friends now, a little bit of a spoiler, they're not too into board games, because they don't like learning more and more rules and stuff, which is fair. I'm not gonna knock them for it, but I'm gonna kind of just shit on them here for it, so haha. But then there was more like bigger channels. The two bigger channels that really got me into it were Smosh with their Board AF. Board AF was so much fun because it was literally just like a bunch of people that I genuinely love. I loved Smosh games as a kid, and I can't say I still do because I haven't seen them since like they got taken since they got shut down by whoever the hell, and then they got picked up again by Rhett and Link. I haven't seen them since that whole ordeal. But Smosh Games was a lot of fun, and Board AF was my favorite thing. I look forward to that every other week. I've probably binge watched Board AF more than like shows I like friggin' Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, which I'm actually watching now. I'm about to finish season 3, so. But yeah, Board AF is such a good show, and they've really made it go through very well. And games like Betrayal at House on the Hill, bang. There's ones and those are two of the main ones that I bought that I can remember from that show. But then they also had ones like Cash and Guns, which is such a fun fucking episode. Like, if I recommend anything, Cash and Guns, the Board AF, probably my favorite one. Just because of how fucking insane it is. But then they also, did like Star Wars Clue, which was a really good one. They did Hero Quest, which was just such a fun, big series thing. They did Zombicide. I fucking love Zombicide. I want to get Zombicide, but Zombicide is expensive. Which is a shame. But it's cool. Because I can just watch them play it and have a good time either way. I love board games. Thinking about Zombicide now makes me want to just play board games, which I'm probably going to do once I'm done with this. I just wish I had friends. I do. And they play board games on the occasion, but it's only certain ones. But we'll get to that. And the other YouTube channel that really got me into board games again was Tabletop. Like Geek and Sundry's Tabletop series. With Will Wheaton, who I knew at the time. I wasn't too into Star Trek, so I didn't really know him from that. I just kind of knew of his existence for some reason. And I was like, oh yeah, dude, Will Wheaton, that's cool. And I saw his games, and I got so hooked in the series. I think the first ones I watched were like Concept with Rhett and Link, and just like some of the other ones. I cannot remember. It was probably like Sheriff of Nottingham, because at the time I was looking into board games on my own. So things like Above and Below popped up because of when I found Rado's thing. And things like Sheriff of Nottingham, Board AF had played, and I was like, oh, dude, that sounds like really, really a lot of fun. And I looked it up on YouTube just to see more people playing it, and Tabletop showed up, and they hooked me so much. Like, it's not even funny how just hooked I became on that show. And games like Sushi Go, one of my favorite party games that I love bringing out. My family loves it. My friends like it. And I got that from there. Mice and Mystics, one of the coolest, like, campaign-style board games I've had. I think the only one, actually. I don't think I really owned any other campaign games. Yeah, I don't think so. But I'm glad I have that one. Like, I could have gotten, like Gloomhaven or something, which is a really cool game. And I've been really tempted to get, like, the Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion or something. I've been seeing it Target. But I have Mice and Mystics, and I love that game. That game is so cool. That's one of those games that I was, like, thinking about so vividly in my imagination while on, like, train rides home. And I fucking love that stuff, dude. Mice and Mystics was awesome. It still is. I still have it. I used to play it. I need to play it some more. I need to finish the campaign for myself, and I'll probably do that over time with you guys for Table for One Live, which is the plan. So, hopefully, it's gonna take a while to finish, but I've already waited this long. I could wait a few more months to have it all set up in stone. Because it'll be 3 episodes a month. And every 2 months there'll be 3. Every 2-ish months there'll be 3 lives. And the first 3 are gonna be one that isn't Mice and Mystics. So I'll have 2 chapters of it, and then it'll be a while. It'll probably be a very long time till I actually finish that game. But that's okay, because you know what, I'm more than comfortable with it. Again, I've waited years. I can wait more years. Or if I can't, I'll just play it, and then I'll be excited about it anyway. Playing it again for you guys, It's cool. But now we get into the meat and potatoes of today. Board game night. What the game is called. Well, the episode is called. It's not the game. There's no game. It probably is a game called Board Game Night, if I had to guess. So many people are making board games now. It's not even fun. I don't know why. But I'm down. Because I've had a few ideas, but obviously I have nothing to do. Instagram. I barely use Instagram, but one of the things that I'm constantly seeing, because I follow like one or two board game like shops, is a bunch of board games for like Kickstarter, like party games. It's like, this is this game, which is gonna be the best game you're ever gonna pull out on board game night. So you wanna take 7 cards and no more than that, and then you the whole premise of the game is you're just serial killer. You're trying to kill the other competitors or something, and it's like. It's a cool. I think it's a fun little game, but I feel like every game I see on Instagram ads is the exact same game but reskinned. Like I feel like I've seen so many of the exact like one with like ninjas is like the exact same one as the one with like the murder people. Like I don't know. It's just they all look exactly the same, just with some added paint. But some of them are cool. Like there's one that's kind of like a Cards Against Humanity type thing, where it's like word poetry. You know, like those magnet poems. So it's like, tell your grandmother that you're gonna be skipping the funeral or something, and then like you just you have like a bunch of little like magnet words, and you stick them to your board and make like a little like speech or something. So like, it's funny. It looks fun. That one looks cool. Cause like there's a lot. I like games where you can put your own jokes in there, but I also like it where it's still restricted. Because otherwise, someone's just gonna put penis every time. If you let them write their own jokes, they're just gonna put penis every time. And penis is probably gonna win every time, because that's a funny word to say. But if you restrict it, so like penis is in there, but then like there's other words, and you have to kind of like, you can kind of use words to like make it sound like penis. So you can be like, suck my cylinder, suck my cylinder in my pants, suck my pants cylinder, suck my bottom cylinder. I don't know, something like that. You could make it more fun, and that's when a game gives you the creativity to actually make your own answer while still being bound to the game, and I like that a lot. So I don't have that game, but I kind of want it. But then obviously you get to the actual board game nights. Again, we're gonna get there. I swear, we're gonna get there right now. Actually, board game nights were pretty common with my friends. And I am very, very grateful for that, because I freaking love board games. Board games are so much fun. And like, considering how I've been, telling you how my friends aren't the biggest fan of, like, a bunch of board games, you're probably surprised that they actually went along with it and played board games with me. But they did. And they were also genuinely interested. Like, they're people who like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, we haven't really been able to play Dungeons and Dragons because none of us really know what we're doing. But we tried once and it kind of worked, but then it kind of didn't, and so we haven't really gone back to it. But board games were always something that interested me and my friends. For good freaking reason. They're fucking awesome. I love board games. I need to actually get to the fucking meat and potatoes. I'm talking myself into circles. So, board game nights, there were some pretty big staples to the board game nights, especially when we started, and one of them was Betrayal at House on the Hill. Betrayal is such a good game. It's such a fun game. Like, it's one of the first games I actually purchased for myself, especially ones that I saw on, like, Board AF, or I guess like a YouTube showed me them, and I was like, oh dude, fuck yeah, I want that. And I was so hooked. And I got it. I also got the Widow's Walk expansion, because that just adds so much cool shit to the game. I was an idiot not to. I would have been an idiot not to. That's what I should say. Yeah, Betrayal is just one of those games that is always fun. However, when we played it with my friends, it could be a slightly different story. Because again, one of my friends is a pretty competitive guy, so not exactly the happy. He's a pretty sore loser. So if his plan as the killer doesn't work out exactly, and we find a way to cheese it, he gets salty about it. If if he's the survivor and the killer happens to kill him first, he gets kind of annoyed about that, which is fair. Because again, dying in a game when there's still more game to be played is it sucks. But some games it happens, and you just kind of it's just part of the game. You just kind of have to realize that. But some people aren't a big fan of that, and I understand. But he likes that game, and he'd always be the one to be like, oh, let's play this one. And he actually got it for himself. Betrayal is one of the very few games that he got for himself. After playing it with me for a few times, and he thought his family liked to play it, and they played it, and it was fun. He said it was fun, but I don't think they've played it in a while, which is fair because I haven't either. So, what are you gonna do? I'm just cooling down. Oh, I'm done cooling down. Damn, I have to start moving again. Sushi Go, as I mentioned before, my friends liked playing that game. It was very fun. We played it a few times. It's one of those games that's super easy to pick up and super fast to play, that you can try to get anybody to play it and they'll probably say yes. And my whole friend group actually played this, because normally with certain board games, only a few people would play it, like me, like my two main friends and my older brother would come to my house. But sometimes I'd go to one of my other friends' house and we'd all get together and play it. And we did that with Betrayal once, and it took a long time, and people were getting so out of it. But me and my friends were super into it. Like me and my two friends that I'm actually still friends with now, we were really into it. But two of my other friends, they said they'd play it just because they, were my friends. They didn't want to be rude, and they had fun doing it. But it just kept going. And while me and my other friends, got super hooked, and we're like, oh, dude, we gotta make this. We gotta win. We gotta survive. The other ones were kind of slowly draining out of it, and then when they died, they're like, oh, thank God. So, didn't play Betrayal with them anymore, but we did play Sushi Go with them a few times, because that was just one of the fun ones. It was really just engaging and easy. However, there's one time where I was playing with just my two friends and my older brother, where he came over to play board games. This is the last game we played that night, and I guess I did something to him in a game before that, probably Above and Below or something, which I'll get to later. But I probably did something to him that just made him target me exclusively for just being a dick. He'd always take the cards I wanted, even though he had no reason to take him. He didn't need them for himself at all. Which eventually would turn into him actually needing those cards, because we practically had the exact same setup and the exact same freaking ideas, because he was taking mine. And then, because he was doing that, he'd get the cards before me, so then he'd just take things and finish his things, and I didn't get to finish mine. It was a mess. I got super salty about it, because what wound up happening was that we tied for first at the end of the game, and I was like, great, I'm tired of this fucking idiot. And I was jokingly upset. I didn't actually give that much of a shit, but it was funny. It was more funny than anything else. And and board games are fun for that. They kind of just create this tension, but as long as you can play the tension off and have a good time with it, it's super fun. I genuinely love that sort of tension in the air between everybody. Who's gonna win? Oh, dude, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next? What's he gonna do? Some people don't like that, and again, I completely understand. Above and Below, as I said, was one of the games that we wound up playing, and my friends actually really, really liked that game. It was one of the games that, with Tabletop Simulator, since I have moved out, we haven't had any in-person board game nights, but with Tabletop Simulator, we've tried playing some games together. One of the main ones that comes out of that is Catan, which is a really fun game, and it's just fun. It's probably one of the games I played the most. It's actually the one game where my other friend has actually rage quit once, because he didn't know that he could take the longest road card back from somebody if they got it. They thought it was a one and done deal. But he didn't stay along long enough for me to tell him that, so then he just left, and I was like, alright, let's see you tomorrow. I was like, oh, well, alright, I guess I win, yay. And so another one of the games that we tried playing, obviously he wanted to play, was Above and Below, but then I tried setting it up, and he's like, bleh, and he just left the game. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I've tried Tabletop Simulator has opened up a whole new window for board game nights and stuff, but I'll get to that at the end. Assuming I do. Let me write it down so I don't forget, because I didn't really think about that until now. Tabletop simulator. There we go. Okay. Mice and Mystics is one of those games that I introduced to them. I first introduced it to myself, played a couple chapters with myself, and then I played some with my older brother, got like halfway through the story. And then I introduced it to them, we started from the beginning again, and we got through like halfway through the story, and they fucking loved that game. And we genuinely love that game. And I wish we could have finished it, because that's so fun. It's such a fun game. I forget entirely what happens in it, but it was so much fun. And I was the magic man. One of my friends was like the hero guy, like the main character dude. One of them was like the guy with the big hammer who usually like fuck you. And my older brother was both of the ladies. One of them was a healer, and one of them was like a archery person. And then I think I also played the sneaky guy. Either that or I gave that. I think I gave that one to my friend. I think one of my friends was the sneaky guy more than anybody else. Yeah. Yeah, because I wanted to that. For some games, like with like when I tried showing them Magic the Gathering or the Planeswalkers, I would take more of the like roles because I didn't want them to get too confused. But with games like that, where they already sort of understood the basics, it's like, yeah, you guys can have more time to play with them. Sure, fuck it, that sounds fun. Let them have more things to do, so that way they're more engaged and actually have more fun of a time. That's awesome. And Mice and Mystics was a big smash hit with my friends. So I think it's any campaign game, just because it invites teamwork more than anything, which is probably going to unify people, especially with board games, because board games are like the one thing where I can actually sit there and like strategically think while still talking to my friends. When I'm playing a video game, my brain shuts off when I'm talking to my friends. And it causes some very funny moments, but one of my friends gets really mad whenever I'm like we're playing like a competitive game or something, and I just can't pay attention. It's fucking hilarious. Yeah, so like those games they liked, but some games like Magic the Gathering, the Planeswalkers, they got so confused trying to learn that we just kind of gave up like not even a third of the way into the game. Because I just didn't know what was happening. They didn't understand it. One of my friends tried to, and one of my friends just kept saying, like, I'm hungry. That phrase has been burned into my brain. Because ever since I told him, fuck you, for, like, saying, because he's just being really annoying about it. And he knew he was. That was his whole goal. He wanted to be annoying about it, so hopefully I'd stop. He would say that every board game night. Whenever he was, like, playing something, whenever I was trying to show him a new board game, and he'd just be sitting there not paying attention. And he'd be like, I'm hungry. Whenever I was done explaining the rules. And I was like, okay, it's your turn to go. I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. And then I'd have to walk him through all the rules again. Which is like, it's one thing if I'm showing him a game. And I didn't ask him if he wanted to play it. And he wasn't all, and he was just showing he genuinely wasn't interested. But there's another one, he is always the one, I always ask him specifically, which board game do you want to try to play? Because I have some new ones, I throw some old ones in there too. And we do the old ones, and then we're out of old ones, and then we try to do a new one. And he's like, alright, that one. And then we go to learn that one. And then he just doesn't listen and gets super annoyed throughout the entire game. It bugs me to hell. It's so annoying. It's upsetting too, because these are games that I genuinely think he would enjoy, because I enjoy them, and I try to pick out games that I think we'll all have a good time with. But he just refuses to learn the new instructions because he has to remember them in his head, and the game isn't so just like. It's like he's very into video games. He's much more video game driven than board game driven. So there's not a whole lot of rules you have to remember in your head. He's kind of they're all kind of the same. WASD to move and like E to interact with things and stuff like that. It's all just very cookie cutter instructions into a completely different universe, which is very easy to get into, so I understand why he'd like that more. But at least try, but yeah. So Magic the Gathering definitely didn't work out so well. Some of them didn't work out so well. I can't remember them, but I know sometimes I literally just get so annoyed by him just sitting there, purposefully not listening and being an asshole, that I just put the board games away and I'd send him on his way. And then that was the end of board game night. But yeah, there's other games like Sagrada. Sagrada we wound up playing. It's like a dice game where you have to like fit the dice into like a big, colorful like glass window, which is a super fun game. I love that game, and they enjoyed it, but they trying to get him to just play the game. It took like 2/3 of the game for him to be like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do," which is just like, dude, I've literally showed you, explained it to you, it's like a dozen times now. I've showed my other friend like twice or 3 times just for him to understand it, and he understood it, but he just refused to listen. He was just his head was somewhere else, and it's like I understand it. You know, it's whatever. I at the end of the day, whether or not we play the board game, I don't really care. I just wanted to have fun with my friends, but when he makes it such a not fun experience, it really is just dampening on the whole day, and I get really upset. But it's fine. Because, we're still friends today, so obviously it didn't matter that much. We're still cool. It's whatever. Don't feel like I hate my friend. I don't hate him at all. Don't feel like he hates me. He might. I don't know. I don't care. But we're still talking, so I can't hate me that much. But yeah, board game nights, they were very hit or miss, at least for the board games, whichever ones were successful. But some of them were very fun. The Portal board game with the cake and stuff, that one was fun. They were a little confused, but they played it and they got into it, and then they had a really fucking big fun time. Mostly dicking me over, but they still had fun. They're just fine. I slowly started growing into being okay with being the butt of whatever, jokes they were trying to do. Like they thought it'd be funny to screw with me, so they screw with me, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's cool. Funny. Like, I'm cool with that. I used to not be. Like with Sushi Go, like I was like genuinely salty and annoyed that they just were dicking me over exclusively. But for some games, it's like, okay, yeah, if that gets you interested, then who the fuck am I to say no? Like it's whatever. Like I'm okay with it. Eh. But yeah. So board game night as a whole, that's pretty much it. And then tabletop simulator, obviously. It opened up a floodgate of different games. I got Tabletop Simulator for both of them, so I was like, oh dude, we can do like board game nights virtually, and we did for a while. We actually started playing some games that we knew we had, and then I tried introducing new ones. But the thing with me, and I will fault myself for this one, I'm not the best at choosing easy starting games. So, like I'd go from like a pretty straightforward game that we've already played to something like the Great Western Trail. Because I saw it and I thought it was really cool and I wanted to play it. And I was like, hey, dude, can we play this game? It's a little complicated, but I'll explain the rules. And they both said yes, and then like 5 minutes in, one of them is listening and the other one's just like, and like just doodling on the table and stuff, and it's fun. Like he's still a real cool dude, but that specific thing really gets under my skin. I think he knows that, and he thinks it's funny, so he does it like to an even bigger extent. Like man, like it's cool. It's whatever. I'm not gonna sit here for the next 10 minutes and just be upset at my friend because he isn't as into board games as I am. That's actually why I wound up starting Table for One, because I just really wanted to play board games, and my friends usually if it wasn't both of them, it was kind of just none of us playing board games. We play something else, which is cool, But so I always had an itch to play board games on my own, and since there are always these new, interesting board games that I'd find on Tabletop Simulator, and I didn't have in person, so I couldn't play with my friends, I have my family. I had to play them online, and when I first got Tabletop Simulator, I did play online, and that was a lot of fun. I played, like, I think Betrayal with somebody, and then we wound up with a bunch of people, and then we wound up playing like a different game where it's like we were all like police. It was kind of like Bang, but like a SWAT team with like some double agents in there. It was really cool. It was a really fun game. I don't know at all what it was called. It was very fun. And those guys were freaking cool. And then I played Codenames with some people online. It was a lot of fun. But I mostly enjoyed after that is playing board games on my own. Because if there was a board game that I liked that no one else was playing, I'd try to open a lobby and people would join. Like, how do I play? And I try to explain it, and then halfway through explaining the rules, they'd just leave, and I'd be like, oh man, that sucks. So I eventually just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna play on my own, and I'd be multiple characters, and you know what? I had a fucking blast with certain games. Like the Great Western Trail. I played an entire game of the Great Western Trail with like a couple of different people that I was playing. I was playing multiple people because I wanted to play the game. I really did. And I always do that with board games I get physically. Whenever I get a board game, I always like test it by playing on my own, like during the night. I like stay up till like freaking 4 in the morning just playing the board game, and I get super hooked, like photosynthesis. Whenever my family, I love family board game nights because my family are some of the best damn people because they're all willing to learn. They like board games. They all genuinely like board games. And whenever I'm like, hey, can we try this new board game? They're like, yeah, sure, let's at least give it a try. I'll like listen to the rules so they can see if they want to play it. They don't openly say, I'm going to play this game with you. They're like, okay, well, how does it go? You know, like, how do you play it? And then sometimes if it's too much, or if it's like too competitive, or it's too many rules, they're like, can we try something a little easier? I'm like, yeah, sure, that's cool. It's whatever, because we haven't committed to it, so it's okay. I'm down for doing that. But like one of the games that I didn't really get a chance to show my friends that I really wanted to play with people, and my sisters were like, hey, let's just play it. It's photosynthesis, a game with like trees. Where you're like a bunch of trees, and you're trying to grow your trees better than they grow their trees, and you score points based off of where your tree is in the island. It's so much fun. And they never chose it, so I never really got a chance to play it. But then I was like, hey, my sisters said they wanted to play a game, and I was like, oh, what about this one? And they're like, yeah, let's try it. And we did it, and it was so much fun. And every time my older sister's around, we always try to throw in a few board games, and it's so much fun. So, genuine shout out to my sisters and my older brother for being fucking cool with playing, like my sister's wife. For just being real cool and real open to trying things that make me happy. It's very appreciative. And I always try to reciprocate the favor. If they're interested in something, I try to, show interest in it as well. That's just, it's a nice thing to do. But I'm not throwing shade to my friends for not doing that. We have our own dynamic. It's just kind of how it works. And I'm a big fan. I love my friends. I love everybody. I feel like I am like digging myself into a hole, but I'm not. I'm trying to undig a hole. I'm trying to fill the hole so that way I can't be in it. But there's no hole being dug. I'm just talking. So I don't know. My brain's always be defensive. Just say, take that back. Even though I didn't say anything particularly bad. Particularly bad. I need to fix my words. I don't speak good anymore. But yeah. So I guess that's about it. Board games have always been a big thing in my life. I always genuinely enjoyed board games. I think my grandma's house and, seeing all those board games kind of sparked the interest in my siblings too, which is something I never really took into consideration. I always thought I was just like a freaking weirdo loving so many board games, but I guess that would explain why they were always so open to playing new ones with me. Because they did it before, and they do it still, which is really, really cool. So, board games, baby. And now, I play them on my own too, and have a blast, like you'll see, in about an hour from now. Actually, it'll be an hour from when I upload this. So, it's already 50 minutes in, so it's gonna be 10 minutes from now. So, hey, 7 o'clock, don't be late. I'll be playing War Chest. It's gonna be a blast. I fucking love War Chest. And this one ends a little unexpectedly, so stay tuned for it. I hope you're all excited. I know I'm excited. So War Chest, Table for One's coming back, starting with War Chest. It's gonna be a fucking blast, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stranded Deep in Conversation. I've been Harris, Cheery Tate, whatever the fuck you want to call me. I don't know. I'll see you next week. Peace, everybody. Bye-bye.